these DMs and Snapchat conversations should not have happened, period. It does not matter how desperate he is or how attractive these people are or how much he is, wanting a relationship. All irrelevant, because this conversation should never have even gotten started. Okay, hi everybody. I genuinely can't keep up. Every time that I'm like, great, we can go back to our regular upload schedule, some shit pops off. So we're doing another Therapist Rates YouTuber apology videos. We are talking about James Charles. I have seen all of your comments. I know that you guys really want me to address David Dobrik's other apology. Honestly, it's a lot. You know what I mean? I've talked about this before on the olden days of the channel, but I still have my day job. So Monday through Thursday, I'm still in the office doing the thing. So most of the filming and stuff happens in batches or on the weekend. So I'm doing my best to keep up to date on it, but also just please bear with me because we have limits to what we can accomplish. So anyways, we're talking about James Charles today. Disclaimer, I have already watched this. I wanted to watch it through before we sat down to talk about it because there is a lot to cover here. I want to issue a trigger warning for this video and a content warning and all the warnings. We're going to be talking about consent and sexual assault and sexual harassment, and especially concerning people who are minors or underage, and lots of discussion about those types of topics. So if you are not in a place for that, please find another video of mine, find a safer corner of the internet to spend time, because this is gonna be a lot. So let's do it.
I made it worse.
God. Okay, and also, because some people have zero concept of safe or healthy or appropriate boundaries and are now harassing people in my personal life, we have to issue disclaimers before every video. So, for legal and disclaimer purposes, you guys know this, I've talked about this before. This channel, these videos, is not a replacement for therapy. This is not therapy. I cannot give you specific advice. Also, please be aware that confidentiality on this platform obviously is impossible to maintain. So any of the comments that you leave in the comment section about your specific mental health or your health conditions, I can't guarantee confidentiality. If you are a client of mine, you are always welcome to watch the videos and engage, but also please understand that I can't engage with you, and also that I can't guarantee confidentiality for you here either. So that's it. Let's do the fun stuff. Let's watch the video. Here we go.
Hello everyone, James Charles here, and today I'm going to be making a very important video about a very important topic. As many of you guys know, about 2 years ago now, I was involved with a very public online scandal in which some fellow YouTubers made some very serious accusations against me, and within the past couple of weeks, similar accusations are being made again, and I think it's very important that I get on camera and talk to you guys honestly about what is going on. When this first happened 2 years ago, I uploaded a video to my channel called No More Lies, and that video was a very planned video. It focused on receipts and screenshots and defending myself in the situation, but I want you guys to know that this video that I'm going to be making today is going to be nothing like No More Lies. This is not exactly planned. I don't have a script. I will let you guys know that I do have just some notes in front of me of points that I want to make because this is a very, very serious topic, but today's video is going to be from the heart, and I'm going to focus on what happened, the conclusions that I've come to, and most importantly, holding myself accountable for my own actions.
Just also too, I forgot to tell you guys, the whole point of these videos is that we are talking about YouTuber apologies so that I can share my feedback as a therapist about how to make an appropriate or healthy apology and sort of pass those critiques onto you guys as actionable skills that you guys can utilize in your life. This is not meant to shit all over James Charles or anybody else on this channel for that matter. We also have a new graphic, which I'm so excited about. We'll probably put over here, but I made a new graphic. I decided to stop plagiarizing Dr. Lauren Fogel Mercies. Thank you, Lauren. So we made a new one and we're gonna use that to talk about this. Before we get into that, this honestly is not that bad. The volume issue is a little bit annoying to me. People have talked ad nauseum about how quiet he is. I think it's a little bit annoying, but honestly, I appreciate that we have minimal cuts. There's not a lot of pomp and circumstance here. I mean, this is the way an apology video ideally would look.
First and foremost, I need to say sorry. I owe a massive apology to anybody that I've hurt or anybody that I've made uncomfortable with my actions.
Okay, so this is one of the things that's really important, is to actually use the words "I'm sorry" in an apology. A little checkbox there.
And I also want to say I'm sorry to my friends, family, and fans that have to watch another one of these videos, because you shouldn't have to, and this is really, really embarrassing. When this all started online a few weeks ago, it sparked a large conversation, and many people have shared their thoughts and opinions, and I want to take some time to address literally everything in today's video. But before doing that, I want to make it really, really clear that I fully understand my actions and how they are wrong. There's no excuse for them, and I don't plan on making any in this video either, and I hope that you will choose to watch it all the way through.
I will give him kudos for, taking accountability and continuing to emphasize that this is his fault, that he did something wrong. It is a little bit frustrating to me that we're talking about how this is embarrassing for his friends or family. I think what he meant to say is like, it's embarrassing that he hasn't learned his lesson by this point. But again, the purpose of an apology is not to center your emotions or what's going on for you. It's to center the emotions of the people that you have hurt. We've talked about this endlessly in the other videos, but it's not about you. And if you're making an apology, sometimes it is okay to offer how you feel or offer the context around the mistake that you made if the wronged party is open and ready to hear that. But I mean, obviously it's hard to do that with a YouTube video because he can't like ask the question. But again, I think it's just more of a safe bet in this type of situation, especially to zip the lips about what's going on for you, because ultimately it doesn't matter.
I also just want to make a quick note as well that I'm filming this on the night of March 31st. It is currently 12:54 in the morning. I'm alone here in the studio, and I know that when I upload this tomorrow, it is going to be April Fool's Day, which is awful timing because this video and this topic is not a joke in any way, shape, or form. And I don't want anybody to think that it is, but I also don't want to wait any longer to speak about this. I want you guys to know that this is very, very important to me, and I'm taking this very, very seriously.
So I will give him credit for this also, because I'm glad that he addressed it. I know some people have kind of clowned on him for uploading this on April Fool's Day, but honestly, I think addressing it and talking about like, yes, this is being uploaded on April Fool's Day and that's not great timing, but also that he didn't want to just like wait a day just for the sake of, I think that's, I don't know, kind of respectable, honestly.
The last thing that I want to say before I just get into it is that I think it's important that I provide a trigger warning for this video. There's going to be topics and things talked about that are very, very sensitive to some people, and I don't want anybody to have to listen to those if they don't want to. So I'm just letting you know right now. But with all that said, I think it's time that we talk. In case anybody isn't aware of what's going on, within the past couple of weeks, 2 different people, both under the age of 18, have recently come forward saying that they had inappropriate messages with me on social media. One of them being from last year and one of them being from more recent. In both of these cases, I added these people on Snapchat, asked how old they were right away, was told that they were 18, believed them, engaged in a flirty conversation, and then later on found out that they were actually 16.
Okay, so this is part of the apology that I take issue with, because if you didn't know anything about this situation, you would think that there were text messages with like little winky emojis or like, oh, hee hee, you're so cute. And that's not at all the context of what happened here. From my understanding, what took place here is that there were nude photos exchanged between both parties. There was pressure applied for the underage people to provide nude photos. There was also like, different types of sexting and like phone sex over text that were happening. And apparently there was a situation in which James Charles was masturbating while on video or talking to one of these underage people. That's not the same as having a flirty conversation, and it's really important in an apology to stick to the facts and to offer up, the clear, unedited version of what it is that you did wrong. We don't want to be skirting around the details here, and we certainly don't want to be editing parts of the factual information to make ourselves look better. And I understand that it's an uncomfortable topic. This is a sensitive issue, and it's not really fun to come right out and say like I was masturbating on Snapchat with a 16-year-old, but that's also allegedly what took place. And so that needs to be shared openly and honestly in order for everyone to be on the same page. And like generally just in apologies, it's important to have that factual information. So not super jazzed about that.
Upon finding out, I was immediately embarrassed and blocked both people. Later on, when I saw them making videos about it and those videos going viral, my immediate reaction, completely honestly, was to be really, really upset. I wanted to get on camera and film another No More Lies video where I gather all my receipts and all my screenshots and try to tell my side of the story and then just move on from the situation. And now, looking back, that was so stupid, because as I did more research on these topics and self-reflected, I realized that the receipts and the screenshots and the specific details of the interaction really don't matter, because I fucked up. And I needed to take accountability for my actions and, most importantly, apologize to the people that were affected by them. These conversations should have never happened, point blank period. There's no excuse for it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. and I take full responsibility for that.
So he does get credit for saying that, and I think this is one of the things that's on our little rubric and one of the things we've talked about in the past. We have to own full accountability for things, and we have to fully accept that this was my responsibility, this was my fuck up, and I did it wrong. And he did that. However, I don't love that the way he's communicating this makes it seem like this is the first time that this has happened, first of all. But second of all, the way that he's talking about this issue makes it sound like he made a mistake in earnest the first time and then really put rubber to road to learn about it and to never repeat this harmful behavior. That's not the case. Again, to my knowledge, please, understand that I'm not the most informed person on this topic, but to my knowledge, there's at least 8 people who have come forward and made accusations about this. And so at this point, we're noticing a pattern of behavior. So yes, he's taking accountability, but it does ring a little bit hollow that you're just now taking accountability for this after several years and 8 accusations.
I trusted the information that was given to me rather than the information I could have and should have gotten myself. In both of these situations, doing research into these people's public social media profiles would have revealed their true ages, and therefore these conversations would have never happened in the first place, but I didn't do the research.
Okay, but that's irrelevant. Again, this is also kind of getting into the excuses territory and focusing on the intent and offering the context and stuff without that really being appropriate or asked for. But he talks about power dynamics later in the video, and I will give him credit for that, but it's frustrating to me that he's communicating, I fucked up because I didn't research their personal social media and find out their age, and I should have seen the red flags. And first of all, that's kind of a victim blamey thing to say. But second of all, these conversations should have not happened just because it's inappropriate for somebody with this large of a platform to be interacting directly with viewers and consumers of their content. We've talked about the concept of a power imbalance before, and he will talk about it later, so we will probably beat that subject to death. But it's inappropriate for you to be answering DMs, and especially to be adding people on Snapchat, of which the purpose of that social media platform is to have pictures and messages and images that disappear. Also, just knowing the history here, it seems unwise that he's making the decision to interact with people who consume his content, to do so on a social media platform with built-in anonymity features. This is just inappropriate. He should not have been interacting with people generally, but he also definitely should not have been doing this on Snapchat. And this is not a I fucked up because I didn't do my research thing. This is an I fucked up because I abused or acted inappropriately and crossed a boundary that should never have been crossed.
And that is what is so embarrassing. As an adult, it is my job and my responsibility to verify who I'm talking to, and therefore there is no one to blame for this other than myself. To the guys involved with this situation, I want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I added you, I'm sorry that I flirted with you, and I'm really sorry if I ever made you uncomfortable. It is completely unacceptable. I was being reckless, and after looking back and finally realizing that this was my own fault, I started doing a lot of thinking and reflecting to really try and figure out why I was actually allowing myself to be so reckless in the first place. In all other areas of my life, my friends, my business, I like to think of myself as pretty put together and on top of things, and I couldn't understand why relationships were the one outlier. Why were they not working? Why was this area of me so different? And I finally came to a conclusion. It sucks and it is ridiculously embarrassing to admit this, but I think I have to, and that is that I'm desperate.
This is frustrating to me. I understand why he's wanting to talk about this, and he's sort of trying to demonstrate that he's done some reflection and worked on himself, but in my opinion, this is irrelevant information because it does not matter how desperate you are for a relationship or love and affection. It's still inappropriate for you to seek that type of connection with people who are content consumers, but also with people who visibly appear very young. That just is not appropriate, and granted, I'm an old married lady, so it's not like I would fucking know, and my platform is way, way smaller than his. So it's not like I would know what it's like to be dating as a social media influencer. I can imagine that there's lots of pitfalls to that and it's probably difficult, but it seems like all of the other fucking influencers are managing to do it just fine. It's frustrating to me, and again, this just feels like unnecessary information. It's not about you.
I do understand that with these videos coming to light, it's really starting to, not even starting, it's really looking, period, like I'm actively searching for younger people to be in a relationship with, and I just want to say firsthand that that is absolutely not the case. My hope has always been to be in a relationship with somebody around my age or older that I can relate to and that can make me laugh. And unfortunately, I've not been able to find that person yet, but the idea of actually being in a relationship became so important to me that I was willing to trust too quickly, miss out on red flags, and most importantly, not take the precautionary measures that really anybody, but especially somebody with a public platform, should be taking before talking to anybody. And
again, this is the thing that I'm saying. It's not about him talking to anybody or missing red flags, which, like, again, is very victim blaming language. It's about the fact that he is the person who has the platform. He is the person who has the power in this exchange and therefore is responsible for being a safe and responsible person. I think it's also worth noting too that this phenomenon of people who are under 18 representing themselves as 18 and over is very common on the internet. There are a lot of places in social media that are age restricted, so it's very normal for people to make accounts that say that they're 18 and over and they're actually not. This is also something that kind of comes with the territory, that people will misrepresent themselves. People will present themselves in a way that is different than what they actually are in order to gain access to you because they like you, because they want you to notice them, and because they want to feel special. That does not mean that it's their fault for engaging in this interaction. They're still a minor. They're still the person who's on like the lower part of the power imbalance here, and it ultimately is your job to behave responsibly and ethically on the internet, and he did not do that. These DMs and Snapchat conversations should not have happened, period. It does not matter how desperate he is or how attractive these people are or how much he is, wanting a relationship. All irrelevant, because this conversation should never have even gotten started.
And there's no excuse for that. When I've watched videos in the past of people talking about serious topics, such as this one, it's always really bothered me when people would talk about conclusions or changes that they're going to make without actually talking about how they got there in the first place. So I think it's really important that I do that in this video. I just honestly think that I owe it to you guys to kind of walk you through the reflection that I've been doing, so you know that I'm taking this seriously, how I came to terms with my desperation, and how it led me here. In 2019, my dating life became even more public than it already was when I was called out and labeled as a predator. You guys, I feel like at this point, all know the story, so I don't want to go back into details, but pretty much I had to get on camera and prove that I was being lied to. I had all the receipts to back it up, but at the time I also recognized that I definitely needed to change the way I was going about dating because clearly something was not working. And in that video, I made a vow and a promise to myself and to you guys as the audience that I would be way more careful moving forward. And that promise was not one that I kept. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, at the time that I posted No More Lies, I really thought that like the only issue was kind of like the straight guys and being lied to.
Okay, so this is the other thing that I wanted to talk about with this video. This is something that came up with the David Dobrik situation, but seems relevant here also. When we talk about sexual assault and inappropriate or like lack of consent, really, most women know other women or are the woman who has been sexually assaulted. But if you ask men if they know someone who or has been a like perpetrator of sexual assault, or like, do you think that your friends would ever be this way or behave in a way that's predatory? The answer is like, no, oh my God, absolutely not. I would never. And like, this is why, because we are not holding people to this standard where they have to reflect on their behavior as being inappropriate and see that this behavior is not about the fact that you were being lied to. It's about the fact that you were behaving in a way that is predatory. I don't want to label anybody as a predator or a pedophile because I, first of all, don't have the information for that. But second of all, like we've talked about this before, I don't want to make statements about somebody's value as a human being, but this behavior can be seen as predatory because again, you're using a power imbalance to benefit yourself without thinking about the moral, ethical, mental health consequences for the person on the other end of this interaction. That's not okay. This, I guess, is just to say that we all need to be doing some introspection and some reflection about how our behavior impacts other people, but also about how our concept of consent and predatory behavior and assault is very much based in this idea of the stranger danger boogeyman who pops out of the bushes in an alleyway and rapes people. And that's not what sexual assault really looks like. Most consent violations happen between people who know each other and between people who think that the person who's being assaulted thinks that they're safe with this other person. And then we have boundaries pushed, and we have the boundary pushed again, and we have the boundary pushed again. And we are socialized in this way to think of sexual assault and boundary violations and consent violations in a like very sensationalized Hollywood type of way. And that's not what it looks like. Sometimes it looks like this.
But I now realize that it was obviously a much deeper problem. And I really wish that at that time I had spent the time to sit down, look at myself in the mirror, and try to get to the root of the problem and understand why I was actually allowing myself to get into these situations instead of just brushing it off and saying, like, it's the straight guys and it's the line. But like I said, I didn't. And as time progressed, my desire for a relationship never really went away. And I slowly started ignoring red flags again, and also ignoring my friends and the important people around me that warned me that I was going to get hurt. And
okay, but this is the other thing about this that was frustrating to me. It's not about him getting hurt. It's about him hurting other people. I think there's definitely some introspection and some growth that still needs to happen here, because he's still seeing this interaction from his point of view as if he's the one who's being victimized because these people are lying to him. And that's not the case. The point here is that it doesn't matter if somebody lied to you about their age or not. It is still inappropriate for someone with tens of millions of subscribers to be interacting with fans, especially like on a one-on-one Snapchat, like not in a million goddamn years.
And to them, I also feel like I really owe an apology, because I should have listened, and I feel like if I did, we probably wouldn't be here today. Looking back now and just trying to do my best to piece this all together in my head, I think that my lack of experience when it came to dating growing up, and then all of a sudden having a lot of attention from different types of men, some for good reasons and some for bad reasons, really affected me in ways that I didn't quite understand. I honestly just thought that I had really, really bad luck and that I was being taken advantage of, when that wasn't the case at all. And I had the mentality that I could reach out to literally anybody and use my Explore page and For You page as a dating app, and eventually I would just happen to find the right person. But that's just not how dating works, literally at all.
It's also predatory. So I don't want to discount, because James Charles has talked in the past about how he had experiences as a very young person on places, you know, like Omegle and like chat rooms and stuff that were inappropriate, where there were older men who were behaving sexually towards somebody who's a minor, and he's been like on the receiving end of that. And I know people have speculated a lot about whether that's why he's behaving this way. I don't know. I'm not the dude's therapist. I can't speak to that. I also don't specialize in childhood sexual assault, so I wouldn't know. However, even if that's the case, then it's James's responsibility to go to therapy and to work through the shit, not to just, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to keep doing the same thing and just keep saying sorry.
It's gross, it's weird, and it's desperation. I just really thought it was important to share my thought process and the conversations that I've been having with myself and professionals behind the scenes in order to help myself fully understand the situation so I could properly hold myself accountable for how I got here in the first place. When these videos started to come to light, power imbalance became a really large topic of conversation on social media, and rightfully so. In 2019, when I had my whole situation, I was accused of abusing my fame, money, and power to get what I wanted. And when I responded to that at the time, I said that that was disgusting and that I would never want to do that. And to this day, I still stand behind that sentiment 1000%. So when it was getting brought up again, I got really, really frustrated and was trying to understand, because I was thinking to myself, like, okay, I know that this situation shouldn't have happened. I know that this conversation shouldn't have occurred. I take responsibility for that. But at the same time, like, they DM'd you first. They lied to you. They flirted first. Like, you didn't use your fame, money, and power to get anything. But I've now realized that that mentality is completely wrong, because a power imbalance can happen even when it's not intentional. What I wasn't getting before is that the excitement that comes with talking to a celebrity is literally enough to make somebody do or say something that they normally wouldn't, even if that celebrity isn't intentionally weaponizing their fame, money, or power. And that's the concept that I just wasn't getting, but I now do. Even though I'm able to turn off my social media and just talk to somebody outside of the spotlight about something normal, in normal clothes and no makeup on as James Dickinson, that doesn't change the fact that to them, I'm still James Charles. And that's something that I can't turn off. For me, having a public platform has become such a huge part of my life that at this point, it does feel normal. But I have to understand that to 99.9% of people, it's not normal and will never be normal. And that's where the power imbalance lies that I wasn't understanding.
This is the thing. I mean, I'm glad to hear him say this, and I think this is like useful reflection, and I'll give him like points for that. But it's frustrating for me to hear this, but then like 30 seconds ago, we were talking about how the reason that this is embarrassing and inappropriate is because he didn't vet these people beforehand, not that he just engaged in the interaction to begin with. It may seem normal to him, and that's totally fair and fine and whatever, but he again, like, has to connect these pieces. And I'm not fully convinced that we've done that yet, because he's saying it, but then he's saying things that contradict it. And that just because it's normal to you does not mean that other people perceive you to be normal. And that's why it's so dangerous and inappropriate to be interacting with your consumers or like his fans at all.
But I'm so glad that I finally do, because like I said in 2019, taking advantage of that power imbalance is something that I would never ever want to do, but unintentionally was. With this situation blowing up, there
Which is another like thing, he's kind of focusing on the intent here. It doesn't matter if he was doing it unintentionally or not, he still did.
are a lot of people speaking about this online, whether it be sharing their opinions, arguing back and forth, or most importantly, holding me accountable for my actions. I understand that posting this video today is not going to stop those conversations, but is going to spark more of them. And that's something that I am completely okay with, because I really feel like these are topics that we need to be speaking about a lot more. I also want to make it clear too that through uploading this video today, my hope and my expectations are not to, press post and then forget about it and move on and wash my hands as if nothing happened, because something did happen. And what happened was not okay. And I don't want to just forget about it. I should have been more careful in every single way when it comes to the ways that I was looking for a relationship. I didn't do the proper research, and for that, I'm once again ashamed and embarrassed. I can't take it back as much as I wish that I could, but I'm really, really glad that I now fully understand the situation, so I'm able to do better in the future, and I really hope to show that to you guys.
Which is another part of an apology that's very important, is the like making an effort to not repeat the hurtful action. This is clearly not that. This is, again, like, I don't even know how many people have accused this person of these inappropriate interactions, and clearly we have not learned our lesson. I also really want to note that some of the screenshots and things that have been shared, which I don't know if those are accurate or not, but again, from what I've seen, some of the screenshots in which he was communicating with these people seem very aggressive. There was words said about like, keep my name out of your mouth, your friend needs to keep my name out of your mouth, and kind of this very like looming, threatening presence of like, don't talk about it, don't let this get out or be talked about. So that takes away from the authenticity of this a little bit, because you can sit in front of your camera and say all of the right words and use the buzzwords and the correct phrases all you want to, but that doesn't change the fact that we are getting very different accounts of the way that you're behaving in private and the way that you're behaving in public, and that doesn't lend confidence to his ability to rectify this mistake moving forward.
Firm believer that when scandals or situations like this happen, you can get on camera and upload an apology video where you say sorry a million times all day long, but the only way to actually show and prove that you are sorry is through action and change. And I'm going to change. This whole situation has been so embarrassing and I'm ashamed, but like I said, I'm now educated and fully understand what went on. And I'm making a promise to all of you right now on camera that I will be way more careful moving forward with every single person that I speak to. My For You page and Explore page are not dating apps, and I will stop treating them as if they are. I also have already started asking for proper identification from every single guy that has either reached out or that I was speaking to, and will continue doing so for the rest of time. I now understand the
I'm not saying that he's not allowed to date people, but I'm frustrated that this is like, oh, well, I'm just going to ask everybody who DMs me for their ID or their passport. Like, why is the solution then not, I'm only going to date other people who are well above the age of 18, or like not date people who actively consume my content or make a concerted effort to avoid interacting with people who are my fans? It's just that like, I'm going to check their IDs now. Like, it just feels like you just sort of skirted around the point a little bit.
Of the problem. I understand how and why I, and only I, caused myself to get into this situation. I understand that this could have and should have been easily avoided, and I also understand that I need to be aware of my platform at all times. I didn't understand how a situation like this could affect the people involved, but now I do. And for that, to the victims, I am so, so sorry. And I promise that something like this will never, ever happen again. I also feel like I owe an apology to my friends, family, team members, and also fans that had to watch this all go down again. To all of you guys, I once again wish that I had listened earlier on. You guys saw this and I didn't, and I'm really, really sorry for not taking that seriously and not being a better person and a better role model like I promised that I would be. I'm going to be taking some time away to reflect and further educate myself on these topics. I think at this point it's really important that I do so I'm able to follow through with my word and prove to you guys that I will be a better person. Even though I won't be here posting, I do want people to know that I will still be here, available, listening, and learning. At this point, if you made it all the way through the video, I really appreciate it and just wanted to say thank you for listening, and I hope to never disappoint you again. See you soon.
Okay, so in terms of apology videos, honestly not the worst that I've seen. I think it could have been a lot worse. Let's go over our new fancy rubric that I made that I'm very proud of. Use the words "I'm sorry." He did that. Don't talk about the intent. He did kind of do that. Don't use the word "but." I think this is kind of like the David Dobrik situation where like he didn't specifically use the word "but," but it was kind of like the insinuation of the word "but." Like, yes, I did this, but also they messaged me first and lied to me kind of a thing. So like a shrug emoji on that one. Share the steps that you'll take to not repeat this hurt. He did do that, and I think it's important that he's going to take some time off of YouTube, not just go back to his fucking regular upload schedule. Make space for others to share how they feel, which in like a person-to-person apology, this is where you like, shut the fuck up and sort of yield the floor to the person that you've hurt. In this situation, I think having the comments and the like-to-dislike ratio turned on suffices, so like I'll give him credit for that. Take full responsibility. In theory, he did do that. Be genuine and authentic. That's like a 5 out of 10 in my opinion. Owning the impact of this, I don't know that he fully talked about or fleshed out this topic because, let's be honest, the people who have been in this situation are probably going to have some stuff to work through in their personal life and in their relationships and in their ability to trust other people. Like, this is traumatizing for those who were involved, and I wish that he would have talked about that a little bit more, or like at all, really. And never, ever, ever say, "I'm sorry you feel that way," which he didn't do. So I think that's fair. All in, like, this is not the worst apology. However, don't crucify me yet, because this, I think, is one of those examples of an influencer or a YouTuber, again, using all of the right words and phrases and having those buzzwords and taking their PR person's instructions very seriously, which again, I will give him credit for. However, there is something to be said for the lack of authenticity and genuineness that's happening here, because A, this is not the first time that this has happened. B, the way that he kind of talked back and forth and contradicted himself seems to indicate to me that there is still some growing that needs to be done and some lack of understanding for the gravity of this situation. And C, it reads as a little bit false when a YouTuber makes this type of apology only after being crucified in the court of public opinion. David Dobrik did this. He had the opportunity to release like a good apology the first time and he fucking didn't. Like, clearly these people are capable of this, but again, it takes away from the authenticity and the realness of it when you only do it after you've been browbeaten on the internet for like a week solid. So I think he loses some points for that one. In terms of how to apply this in your real life, I think the genuineness and the authenticity is the really important takeaway from this, because you can see like the response to this video, the people who love him and who stand James Charles will continue to love him and watch his videos and consume his content. And I think he knows that, which is why there's a little bit of, authenticity lacking here. But there are still a lot of people who are not buying it, who are not appeased by this apology. And honestly, I'm one of them. I think if somebody apologized like this to me in my personal life, I'd be like, thanks, but I didn't ask you to read the textbook about how to apologize. I asked you to genuinely be sorry and come to the table with some humility, and you didn't do that. For those of you who are apologizing to someone, keep that in mind. We don't have to have all of the perfect words and phrases, and it's not about reciting the speech with perfection. It's about, again, coming to the table with that genuineness and the authenticity to be like, fuck, dude, I don't know. Like, I fucked it up and I did it wrong. I don't know how to do this, but I care and I want to work on it. And like, if you will have me, I want to continue to work on our relationship and repair the damage that I've caused. I think that just reads as a lot more genuine and helpful and honestly like remorseful than using all of the correct words. That said, if I had to rate this, I would say it's like a solid C-, like maybe a D+. Again, I don't think that it's the worst apology of all time. I am very skeptical about his ability to make meaningful progress moving forward, and I guess time will tell. The other thing about this that I'm kind of disappointed about is that he didn't say or talk about like, yeah, maybe there's like some impact from other things that have happened in my life that have made me this way, so I'm gonna go to therapy and I'm gonna work on it, or like I'm gonna talk to someone, or I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z to work on myself, because as useful as introspection on our own can be, it's certainly not a replacement for therapy, and there's a lot of really meaningful growth that can happen in therapy. Let's be honest, James Charles has more than enough money, access, and resources to get really top tier mental health services. So I'm gonna shut up about it because this is long enough as it is. Thank you guys for watching this. If you made it this far, I know that this one was kind of long, but I appreciate you guys watching them, and thank you for suggesting it. So that's it. That's all that I got. If you like the video, and subscribe to the channel. There are lots of videos like this now, but we also do fun therapist reacts things and other types of educational bullshit. So check it out. Share the video to help the channel grow and to help each other grow, and I will see you guys next Saturday. Okay, bye.